Hello, I.A.R.B.S, I.A.R.B.S, and Taken. I want to talk about a situation and kind of give you an idea of how God works in our lives the same way. I have my grandson. I have full custody of my grandson and my granddaughter. But in this situation, my grandson started kindergarten. Before he went to kindergarten, he went to early childhood education. He's gone to daycares. He rides the bus. He goes to before and after school programs now that he is in kindergarten. And, he comes home and there's other people that see him on a regular basis. So his first week in kindergarten, it went well. There was no complaints. His second week seemed to go well, maybe even the third week. But by the fourth week, and it might have been the second week of school, second or third week of kindergarten, he started complaining of stomach pains, that he was having pains in his stomach. The first day, went and picked him up from the kindergarten, and he came home and he was just fine. Could not understand that. Why was he having stomach pains? The second time, the nurse called me and he says, I know we called you yesterday and, or because that was on a Friday. So this is a Monday, but we called you Friday. Well, this is a Monday and he's having some stomach pains, but he doesn't have any symptoms. He don't have any fever. He's just complaining of stomach pains. So I said, he sometimes likes to stay home. So maybe it's because he wants to stay home. So we discarded that, and probably later on that week, there was things saying, your grandson, he is really not paying attention. He keeps, horse playing with the other kids and putting his hands on the other kids. But we're talking to him. The next week, it went from, he was outside and at playtime, and he was a place where he wasn't supposed to be, and he was jumping in a puddle and got stuff on the other kids. Okay, so now I'm concerned. Okay, I'm doing what I can do as a parent. I am, telling him a consequence, you can't use your tablet, different things, and talking to him like, we don't do those things. You haven't been doing those things. Why are you doing these things? And then, it kept escalating. Just to make a long story short, escalated to some other kid was on him, punching him. My grandson ended up biting this kid. Now this other kid is throwing things at him, spitting on him. I eventually had to go talk to the principal and get him transferred to another class. It was a process. There was a whole process in between here and a whole lot of other things that happened in between. But I also stated that, hey, he wasn't this way before, and unsure why it's only one incident in one place with one kid. Now it's bullying. So to make a long story short on that, he ended up transferring into another class, and this was transferred to tomorrow will start. So I'm not exactly sure how that will work after, going into a different class, more structured class. But to bring that to a head, I wanted to say sometimes that's how we are with God. We start showing symptoms of not feeling well, a sign of maybe things need to change. It may be not feeling well, like, okay, I'm struggling and I don't know how to deal with it. I'm depressed, I'm sad, different signs that we're struggling and don't know how to deal with it. And we don't know exactly what's going on because in our minds, we're not understanding what we need to do. But then God brings people along to give us the understanding of, hey, let me pray for you. Let's, understand that, read your Bible and say these prayers, and maybe that will help. And God is fighting for us, just like I was with my grandson. God is fighting for us. He's saying, hey, this is what needs to be done. I want to change you to a different classroom. I don't want you to be bullied. I don't want you feeling sick. I don't want you, in a situation where you're not structured. So the thing is, if we listen to that, and if we follow by what he wants us to do, it is amazing how things can change, how a structured environment can change things. How reading your Bible can help with your situations, talking to other Christians, going to church, anything that has to do with putting God to guide or take over that situation. sometimes we tend to want to do it ourselves, or we tend to think, you know what, I've done this my whole life by myself. I'm just going to keep doing it. This is going to happen no matter what. I'm just going to keep living in this situation. Imagine, and by the way, my grandson is very, very bright. They took an IQ test, and he is smarter than all the other kids in his class. I can honestly say he's probably at first grade level education. So imagine if I left him in that environment and I said, just stick with that. You're going to be fine. Everything's going to go well. You'll be able to adjust. Well, he would adjust. He would adjust to that type of environment where he is used to being picked on, or where he has to fend for himself, or where he is no longer able to focus on learning, but has to focus on defending himself, constantly fighting, constantly no structure, constant inability to focus on what is important and things that will help him grow mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, educationally. So that is something that we have to always look at. You don't have to stay in that situation. When you have God, he can help guide you out of there. He can help you get through there. He can put his wings of protection over you. There is situations and circumstances that God takes control over if you let him. But if you want to keep it yourself, go for it. That's your choice. God's not going to make you serve him. God's not going to ask you. You have to ask for God to help you, or he's not. He lets you make that decision. So I just wanted to give a piece of my mind on that situation and use it to hopefully help others to grow. Have a good day. Life is lifing. Keep on living. I'm out.